A vast majority say they want to see the Epstein files. 77% of Americans want the Epstein files released, but 100% of our American president does not want them released. Trump's treating these Epstein files like the grumpy old neighbor on Halloween. He turns off all the lights and just hopes the trick-or-treaters will assume.
There were Republicans that I never questioned that their sincerity or their belief in the American system. And I think with the administration the way it's been, I think I'm not sure the man has took his oath seriously to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
Donald Trump and his regime are doing everything they can to cover up his dark, sick, dastardly past. We were wondering, okay, what was their strategy going to be to block the release of the Epstein files when, based on the current law, they must be released on December 19th. And we've been flagging here what the evolving plan was by the Department of Justice and the FBI. They were going to say that they've released all of the documents that they're required to by law and that are otherwise not prohibited by court orders.
You know what's wild? When the President of the United States tries to silence a comedian, and America's most beloved actor decides to fight back. I'm talking about Tom Hanks, the guy who played Forrest Gump, the man who survived on a deserted island in Castaway, the guy who literally never does anything controversial, standing up and saying, enough is enough. And when Tom Hanks gets involved in politics, you know something serious is going down. But before we get into how Tom Hanks and 400 Hollywood legends absolutely demolished Trump's censorship campaign, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
Graduation, Fibonacci flew straight to the annual Lincoln Reagan dinner in Minnesota, where he either falsely or just dumbly claimed he won the state in 2020, and where, for a guy who claims he doesn't use a teleprompter, he got pretty upset about his teleprompter.
How about that? Before I got up, the teleprompter fell down. That's great. Great going, fellas, back there. Then they want to know why I didn't pay the bill. You know, I get a lot of heat.
He gets a lot of heat when he doesn't pay the bill. Except for the heating bill. When he doesn't pay that, he gets no heat at all. But who brags about stiffing workers on a stage at a campaign event?
Be released when under Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E and Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6, this grand jury testimony is not allowed to be produced. And so what I said this Trump regime was going to do is when the federal courts denied the production of grand jury testimony, they're going to say, see, the courts are denying the production of documents, and they were going to try to trick you and trick the public that may not know about the way court proceedings work and grand jury proceedings versus the files, that, oh, look, a court's the one blocking it, so there's nothing we can do if the courts are blocking. Well, we have a few things happening right now. There has been public records requests made, and we have federal judges in D.C. like Judge Tanya Chutkan expediting the FOIA request, the Freedom of Information Act request to turn over the Epstein file.
We're exposing the moments mainstream media wants you to forget, and trust me, this story is something they definitely don't want you remembering. Let me take you back to September 2025. Jimmy Kimmel did what he does every night, made jokes about politicians. Specifically, he criticized how MAGA Republicans were handling the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death. Nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary for late-night TV. But here's where it gets insane. Trump's hand-picked FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, decided that Kimmel's jokes were somehow a federal offense.
I'm not sure the man has took his oath seriously to preserve, protect. You know, in the past there were Republicans that I never questioned that their sincerity.
Well, Donald Trump has launched an attack on Tom Hanks, slamming the Hollywood star for being, quote, woke and destructive.
For more, we are joined by former White House advisor and Tom Hanks fan, Tony Shaffer in.
Our president is very busy prosecuting his enemies. His goon squad today indicted his own former national security advisor, John Bolton. He is just brazenly lying about the economy and grocery prices, but he did have a chat with Vlad Putin today, which we know because while he was on the phone with Putin, he posted, "I am speaking to President Putin now."
And the people who are whacked out, when you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President, besides San Francisco...
By the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
We have other federal judges like Judge Berman and others in New York who are basically saying to the Department of Justice, all right, based on the Epstein transparency law. Tell us all the documents that are out there and let us know what's included in your file. Don't try to set us up as the court. And here's what we're seeing as well. This is what Kash Patel said when he was on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, on Tuesday evening. This is basically the plan that the regime is laying out to cover up the files.
On September 18th, 2025, Carr went on a podcast and basically threatened ABC with a mob-style message. He said, and I quote, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead." Did you catch that? A government official threatening a private company to fire a comedian in America in 2025? Let that sink in for a second. And ABC folded faster than a lawn chair at a buffet.
Nixon is desperately trying to keep a lid on the Epstein files and position Donald Trump as some kind of hero in this story.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
You have to admit he's funny. I mean, come on. That's Donald Trump is an FBI informant?
You give a guy a fair shot for as much as you can, and I have great faith in in our system of government. But I believe that I have witnessed, from my perspective, is that there is fear and outrage and xenophobia has been commoditized. It's because it's turned into the bigger trademark for how.
Just so you see what's taking place here. Patel is responding to Laura Ingraham, and they act like the Epstein files are released. So Ingraham's like, all right, so you wait a little long, but now they're out there. So do you think that you may have took a little bit too much heat for waiting so long? And then you'll hear what Kash Patel goes. He's like, we are putting out as much as we can that is lawful and not prohibited by court orders. Now, they're going to make the decision what they consider to be lawful, and they're going to say anything that involves privacy issues or any of these powerful men who were listed in there who were never actually charged.
Within hours, Nexstar and Sinclair, two of the biggest station groups in America, pulled Kimmel's show from their ABC affiliates. Then Disney, which owns ABC, announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live was being suspended indefinitely. The show that had been on the air for 23 years, more than 3,500 episodes, was just gone because the president didn't like being made fun of. Trump celebrated like he just won the Super Bowl. He posted on Truth Social.
Every once in a while, when he needs a good laugh, Putin schedules a phone call with Trump. And Putin is Bart Simpson and Trump is his Mo. Trump announced that he is going to meet with Putin in Budapest at a date to be determined because only he can end a war.
I don't think any president's ever ended a war, frankly. One war, I did 8 of them, Maria, right? And but I don't know, did Bush ever end? Do you think Biden ended a war? Biden started wars because he was stupid. But do you think Biden ended any wars? No. I don't know of anybody that ended wars. I ended 8 of them.
No president, nobody has ever ended a war other than him. All the other wars ended mysteriously by themselves.
We can't release their names. And remember what MAGA Mike Johnson said? Because we'll be creating a class of new victims. It's sick and disgusting what they're saying, but that's what they're saying, is that all these other people who are listed who were never prosecuted, we can't make them the new victims. I know, it's horrific. That's what MAGA Mike said. But I just want you to watch this. This is the Trump regime plan. They've got propaganda media Fox that's kind of trying to tell its audience, like, so you're doing it, right? You did what you got to do. And then Kash Patel's like, well, we already released 40,000 documents. We've done a lot. And, we're just going to produce what's lawful and what's not prohibited by court order.
Great news for America. Finally, ABC has the courage to do what had to be done. He called it Kimmel's cancellation, even though it was technically a suspension. The man was doing a victory lap because he got a comedian pulled off the air. But here's what Trump didn't count on. He didn't count on Tom Hanks. Now, Tom Hanks doesn't usually get political. The man has spent decades being America's dad, playing nice guys, staying above the fray. But on September 22nd, 2025, Tom Hanks did something that sent shockwaves through Hollywood and Washington.
The notorious PIG is busy with all manner of distractions right now. He rallied the troops in Norfolk over the weekend at an event to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Navy. He treated the crowd to his signature dance and to his still inexplicable theme song.
I just want to know what it feels like to be here on the 80th. It may be the last of these reunions.
If you do the math, if you were, say you were 17 years old and you were making your first trip into combat on June 6th of 1944, you would do the math, you're now 97 years old. That they're here. I mean, the first thing I say to any of the veterans that I happen to meet is don't get up, because, they're more or less wheelchair bound.
Mr. Director, our viewers also are they're chomping at the bit on why it took the Epstein files so long to be released. Any regrets there? Was that an unforced error? Should we have gotten them out earlier? Just get them all out there? Just thought I'd give you a chance to react to that.
Yeah, look, this FBI has produced 40,000 pages of documents to Congress. To put that in comparison, Wray put out 13,000 in 7 years, and Comey put out 3,000. We're committed to transparency. We're putting out as much as we can that is lawful and that is not prohibited by court orders.
He put his name on an ACLU letter that basically told Trump to go to hell in the most Tom Hanks way possible. The letter was titled simply, "We the people must never accept government threats to our freedom of speech." And it wasn't just Tom Hanks. Oh no. This was the Mount Rushmore of Hollywood standing together. Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, Jennifer Aniston, Selena Gomez, Ben Stiller, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Joaquin Phoenix, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jane Fonda, Kerry Washington. Over 400 of the biggest names in entertainment.
Thank you. Hey, now speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome in Black Devil anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it What Jeopardy?
No. We don't need it. We don't need it.
According to the Daily Beast, Donald Trump's inner circle is becoming increasingly fearful of the impact what he sees on Fox News is having on his decision-making. Trump officials became concerned when Trump asked if he could get a reverse mortgage on the White House in one of those Terry Bradshaw walk-in tubs. A few weeks ago, there were reports that the reason Trump wanted to send the National Guardian to Portland is because he saw Fox footage of unrest from 2020, and he thought it was happening in real time. And he still might think that's happening in real time. Because in an interview with NBC, he said that when the governor of Oregon informed them there was no security threat in her state, he said, well, wait a minute, am I watching things on television that are different from what's happening?
We have ongoing criminal investigations on both those fronts because the guy who launched Russiagate, me as a senior staffer back in House Intel, is now the director of the FBI, and I'm not going to end this mission without destroying and leveling the full weaponization that occurred before I got here.
Finally, I know you got to...
Now, while this is going on, I want to share the following with you as well. Jason Leopold over at Bloomberg has been an incredible, he is an incredible reporter, but he's been on this Epstein beat better than just about anybody. And here's what he says. Here's a rare look behind the scenes at the FBI's review of the Epstein files in March, based on emails that he obtained via the Freedom of Information Act request.
All signing their names to defend a late-night comedian's right to make jokes. The letter didn't pull any punches. It called Kimmel's suspension a dark moment for freedom of speech in our nation. It said, in an attempt to silence its critics, our government has resorted to threatening the livelihoods of journalists, talk show hosts, artists, creatives, and entertainers across the board. This runs counter to the values our nation was built upon and our Constitution guarantees. And get this, many of these celebrities were actively working with Disney at the time.
Parts of the world are dealing with problems that seem as though they have no solution and seem as though they will never go away. When America has faced those sorts of circumstances and times, we have never turned to a simplistic, self-involved gas bag of a candidate. They are out there. They have been there. I'm a lay
So redactions, you know what that word means, right? Where they basically remove or they cover up the names or they cover up portions of the emails. They redact it. They block it for whatever reason they're going to claim. Privacy reasons, ongoing investigation, has victims' names in it, whatever it is. So this redaction project was going on throughout February and March. But take a look right here. Look at this email that's sent from Leslie Bakshies to Dan Bongino. You see it March 18th, 2025. And here's what the email says. Good talking with each of you yesterday. We're happy to support. I wanted to share the below as we seek guidance from the GC, I think that's General Counsel, on the types of redactions to apply to these documents so we can process the right way out of the gate.
He appeared on October 3rd, 2025, just 2 weeks after leading that ACLU letter, sitting on Kimmel's couch talking about his new play, This World of Tomorrow, and his love for New York. The message was clear. Tom Hanks doesn't back down, Hollywood doesn't back down, and Trump's attempt to silence critics had completely backfired. Because here's what actually happened. Trump tried to cancel Kimmel and instead turned him into a free speech martyr.
It's the show the FCC doesn't want you to see. We're doing something fun tonight. We're doing something unprecedented tonight. Now, although I think it's unprecedented, I did not bother to check. Tonight, Stephen is a guest on our show. I will simultaneously be a guest on his show. We thought it might be a fun way to drive the president nuts.
Finally, do you worry about the United States in terms of its commitment to democracy and freedom and everything these people died for, if there's another Trump presidency?
I think there's always reason to be worried about the short term, but I look at the longer term of what happened. I think there is a ongoing look. Our Constitution says we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
Here's the thing. You see the redaction right there? We don't get to see what's listed there. Is Trump's name listed in there? What does it mean when they say, I want to share the below as we seek guidance from the General Counsel on the types of redactions to apply to these documents so we can process the right way out of the gate? Then it's not blank there. That's a redaction right there. So Dan Bongino gets this March 18th. Now, Mr. Dan Bongino, the podcaster before he got this deputy FBI director job, who talked about the FBI is doing the cover up, the FBI is involved. You're the FBI and you're doing the cover up right here.
He tried to intimidate Hollywood and instead united 400 plus of the biggest stars against him. He tried to look powerful and instead looked like a thin-skinned bully who can't take a joke. And Tom Hanks, gentle, beloved, usually apolitical Tom Hanks, became the face of resistance to government censorship. Not through anger or rage, but through quiet, dignified solidarity. Even Matt Damon got in on the action during that same Brooklyn week, crashing Kimmel's show in a costume and mocking Trump's claim that he'd canceled Kimmel.
Again, Trump claims he didn't write this or draw this, which would mean someone went back in time to frame him for it. But here it is, and it's written like a movie script. We didn't make that up. This is under the silhouette of a woman's body. It says voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything. Donald, yes there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that self-involved gas bag. You want to talk about him?
Donald Trump.
Look, if I have an abscessed tooth and I need to see an oral surgeon, I'm not going to go to the guy who says, you know what, I think I could be a pretty good oral surgeon. I'm going to go someone who's been doing it for 30 years and has handled it a million times and knows all the small little... I'm voting for Hillary Clinton because I think she's wildly qualified to be the president of the United States, at the same time we're dealing with one damn thing after another.
If you want to see more stories about how celebrities are standing up to political pressure, or moments when Trump's plans spectacularly backfired, hit that like button and drop a comment below. What do you think? Should more celebrities speak out against government censorship? Let me know your thoughts. And remember, when Tom Hanks thinks you've crossed the line, you've really crossed the line. This is America Facticity, reminding you that free speech isn't free. Sometimes it takes 400 Hollywood stars and one very determined late-night host to protect it.